One more time, please. Thank you. Hello and welcome to Cooper Union. Thank you to the Juilliard School's Rachel Christensen for coordinating the music this evening, and to Hamilton Berry, Clara Abel, and Aaron Wolf for their beautiful performance of Metallica's Enter Sandman. And a quick thank you to my Cooper Union family for making this happen tonight. Thank you so much. I'm Mike Essel. I'm the Dean of the School of Art, and I'm a metalhead. Woo! I was thrilled when Dimitri of Herring and Herring asked me to introduce tonight's event. Dimitri was a student in my graphic design class, and I fondly remember working with him on logos and album cover designs for his band. Dimitri also knows I'm a huge Metallica fan, so when he told me he was working with the band on their next record, I couldn't have been more proud. Not only was one of my students working with Metallica, but Cooper Union was already a small part of Metallica's history. I like to joke that there's a little Cooper Union in everything, and Metallica's first record is no exception. Kill 'Em All. Woo! Kill 'Em All, the debut thrash record that started it all, seen here on my t-shirt. And maybe the greatest record of all time, prominently features the typeface serif Gothic, right here, which was designed by Cooper Union graduate Herb Lubalin. So there's a little bit of Cooper Union in the first Metallica record and in the most recent Hardwired to Self-Destruct. Woo! Thank you for joining us at Cooper Union tonight, and we hope you'll consider joining us for a future event. And now I'll introduce tonight's guests. British writer and interviewer Stefan Shirazi first met Metallica and Lars Ulrich in 1984, the start of an enduring relationship which remains to this day. In 1999, he became editor of Metallica's So What publication. In 2003, he wrote and edited So What, The Good, the Mad, and the Ugly. And in 2012, worked with Kurt Hammett on his Too Much Horror Business book. He is also Lars's sidekick on Ulrich's Beats One radio show, It's Electric. Dimitri taught me how to say his name today, so let's see if I get it right. Dimitri Scheblanov, I'm so sorry. And Jesper Carlsen co-founded Herring and Herring in 2008. The duo's approach is based upon conceptual and aesthetic exploration and continuously pushing the boundaries of storytelling. They publish and photograph a self-titled magazine built around unique creative collaborations with their celebrity subjects. And in 2017, Herring and Herring were named Hasselblad Global Ambassadors. Lars Ulrich, who really needs no introduction, is the drummer and co-founder of Metallica, one of the most influential bands in history. Metallica has sold 110 million albums worldwide and played to millions of fans on all 7 continents. Metallica has won 9 Grammy Awards, 2 American Music Awards, multiple MTV Video Music Awards, and they were inducted, of course, into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and Museum in 2009. Please join me in welcoming tonight's guests to the Cooper Union.
Right. Here we are.
I'm here.
You're there.
I'm here next to you.
Hello, how are you?
Hello.
And next to me.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Cooper Union, and thank you very much to the Cooper Union for having us. It kind of feels a little bit like a speakeasy. I was just told that it was built in 1859 and was the largest meeting room in Manhattan. So apparently Abe Lincoln stood back there, am I correct? Or stood
That's right.
here?
Both.
A lot of history. Welcome to Dimitri Scheblanov, Jesper Carlsen, or as Lars has just corrected me, Jesper Carlsen. Carlsen.
You gotta say it flattering. Jesper, Carlsen,
Jesper, Carlsen.
for helvede.
And welcome to Lars Ulrich.
Lars Ulrich,
Lars Ulrich. For helvede. For helvede.
for helvede.
We're here to discuss creativity, collaboration. These two gentlemen creatively collaborate in many ways, and this gentleman, I think we all know about his creative collaborations in Metallica, and we will talk about his collaborations with Herring and Herring. And hopefully the conversation will flow easily in this speakeasy. I just also want to say before we start, thank you to the Juilliard cellists. If we could please have a quick round of applause for them. I think they deserve it. Thank you very much. Thank you. So, as a starting point to our little chat, gonna throw a date out there. March 14th,
Can I just ask one
2000.
question?
You may, yes.
Why do they get each their own chair? And I'm sitting here balancing the couch with you. What is that about?
I actually wanted that.
That's a good question.
I wanted that.
Does anyone have an answer to that?
Do you want to switch?
We could play musical chairs.
We'll
And
happily do that. I have wanted that seat.
I'll start here with Stefan, and then if it gets a little hot and heavy here,
Every
I'll
20 minutes, you guys say, like, switch, and we'll play musical chairs and we'll switch.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're getting an entry into the creative process of Herring and Herring and Lars Ulrich. And was this how it was on the 14th of March, 2014, when you first met at the Metallica Marin HQ?
Yeah.
Photo shoot? How did that happen? Come on, let's...
Sure. Yeah, so we, at that point, had just done kind of the biggest, I guess, commercial project that we had done up until that point. We shot Beyonce, and Beyonce paid us a lot of money to do a photo shoot for an album that wound up not being an album. We took that money and we decided to invest it into a magazine, which was basically all of the ideas that we wanted to execute, but hadn't up to that point. We invested it into this thing. And Lars was actually the second person that we shot after Beyonce, or at least the second celebrity.
first.
Beyonce was the first celebrity that we shot before
I
you.
was after Beyonce.
You were right after her.
That's good company.
It's great company, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
What he's not telling you is that we did not shoot Beyonce for the magazine. She just happened to be in it.
So my first question is, before you got a hold of me, who turned you down?
James.
James turned.
Well, actually, we asked for the entire band, but you were the only one who was.
In town, I think, at that point. And we jumped at the chance.
Credit has to go to our publicist for many years, Brian Bumbury.
That's
Good
right.
old Brian.
Who called
yes.
up and said, he called up and said, I have something that you need to do. And I said, what is it? And then he explained it to me, and I had no idea what he was talking about. And I said, you really want me to do this? He goes, this is cool. These guys are cool. This is going to be fun. And I said, Brian, I'll do it because you say it's the right thing to do. And then
I remember that phone call from Brian.
5 years later, we're
Yeah.
sitting here.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, no, we were super excited. We're both huge Metallica fans, and we didn't really know exactly what we were kind of stepping into that day.
Same here.
Yeah. Lars is a huge Metallica fan, if nobody knows. Yeah, we rode in. I remember it was a very early morning call for us, and we were driving in up to HQ, listening to One, kind of blasting it, really kind of getting in the mood and getting really inspired and excited. And then
Realizing what the hell we were getting ourselves into.
That's right.
Yeah.
And then we walked in and we were greeted by, the friendliest faces around, really, the people at work.
Brian was one of them.
Before I showed up.
Before Lars came, yeah, of course. But no, I mean,
Jess was there.
Yeah, no, but
styling you, by the way.
but everyone at HQ was just so fantastic and friendly and nice to us, and that was a really nice kind of introduction for us. And so we really felt like it was probably going to be a good day, which it wound up being a fantastic day. And other than, I think, me trying to force you to smoke a cigarette, we got every shot that we wanted.
You didn't even know I was Danish at that time. That's right. You had no fucking clue until I said your name, like.
Right, yeah. Herring and herring doesn't exactly give you a lot of...
No, it does not. But Brian, being your publicist, should have
which
maybe
one is
informed you.
herring and which one is herring?
It does,
The jury's still out.
We We haven't actually, 5 years later, this is true, we haven't actually Hello?
Hang on. I think this is because
One, two, break.
we've been asked to switch because you've got a
Hello?
microphone.
Huh?
We've been asked to switch. You put a...
Okay, and you want to see me? That's why you want me to switch.
I like the fact.
Okay. We'll play some musical chairs here over the course of the next hour.
I'll try and
or
lean
how
back.
long this
How's
lasts.
that? I'll lean
I like
back.
the fact that I have to
I'll
move.
talk like this. So, when you first met Herring and Herring, did you do lots of investigation? No, I mean, seriously, how did you, I know you love information. How much digging did you do to find out who these guys were, and what did you find out?
I did little to none.
Okay.
No, like I said, if Brian, who was our publicist at the time, said, this is cool, then I'd say, okay, I trust you. And so it sounded intriguing, and I'm always up for doing anything that falls outside of the predictable and standard ways of approaching anything. And when Brian said, these guys have a really unique approach to photography and to, their whole thing just comes from a different place. That's always interesting to me. So I was game, absolutely.
And the vibe that you met from these two when you first saw them, describe it. Talk a little bit
It's
about...
about what you see now. It's just a lot of enthusiasm. The one thing that I remember which was unusual was that I was told that both of you guys shoot and both of you guys assist, and there's no particular rhyme or reason to who does what. All of that's impulsive and just determined in the moment. And so as we were getting into the day and we tried lots of different things, it was intriguing to see how you guys would sort of switch off for no apparent reason. It wasn't like one does color and one does black and white, or one stands on a ladder and the other does all the sitting down shots or whatever. It was just, it was very sort of impulsive and cool and felt like this crazy creative momentary energy, which is what I really respond to.
So, I mean, how did you find Lars? Talk a little bit about working with him that first moment. What did you expect versus what did you see? Maybe tell us how much planning you put into the session before that got completely blown out of the water by what you encountered. I mean, bring us into that process.
So, I mean, our process typically is we do a lot of research into each of our subjects. We try to go as deep as possible. We try to really see every frame that's been taken of everyone that we shoot prior. And then we try to come up with a vision that's somehow different from what we see. So whether that's trying to invent a personality that, a lot of times you do this with actors, but trying to invent a personality that hasn't been kind of created with them before, or really trying to get down to the thing that we feel is the kind of this indefinable thing about a person. How can we put our stamp on it? So we, I think, really...
We did a shitload of research on every picture that's ever been taken of Lars and Metallica. And try not to do any of that.
What we really...
That's quite a lot.
We've seen
It's a lot, yeah.
No, but so I think we were trying to think of a way, how do we bring, and there's a shot in there, before the shot with the chocolate milk. We were trying to think of a way, how do we bring the live kind of action, drumming thing and make it, how do you express that in the still image? So we came up with this idea about spraying some chocolate milk on a drum head and having Lars bang it so that the milk kind of like flies up, because we really wanted to express that action that, you see in a live show. We were pretty happy with that shot and
apparently
a lot of the other ones. Yeah.
Chocolate milk and black and white works.
That's right, yeah. Organic chocolate milk. Yeah.
Sure, it was chocolate milk.
We said we don't know whether water or chocolate milk will look best, and Bree said not only do we have
liquid
chocolate milk, we have organic chocolate milk. And so that's what we used.
So does the creative flow of organic chocolate milk make a difference in the shot?
It did that time, yeah.
But
yeah.
Okay, so this first session is established, time marches on, a friendship develops, and somehow... What's that?
Does it?
It doesn't. Somehow we end up at certainly what I think has been one of the most iconic pieces of album art that I've seen for many, many years. And I'd like you to talk about how that came together. I think there was an iconic
Yeah, I think there
moment.
may be one or two pit stops along the way.
Sure.
There, there is a few.
Bring
yeah.
us through them.
Well, we just became friends. I mean,
did.
you end up in certain creative situations with people that you connect to, respond to, and gel with. And this felt so organic and pure and real. And, you know, the fact that I guess all 4 people on the stage carry European passports.
That is an interesting
Yes.
point, isn't it really? It's good.
There are no American citizens on this stage.
I am a citizen.
What?
I'll have you. I'm a citizen. Before they kick me out, I am a citizen.
And
Don't
Russian,
contradict me. I told you never contradict me in public. That U.S. passport will be momentarily revoked.
I hope not.
Anyway, but we all connected on, I think, our origins and our pasts, and on sort of living on the creative edges and being curious and being up for whatever. And we stayed in touch. And Jess, my wife who's out here, we would come out to New York, and among the first people we would call would be you guys. I remember you had a magazine release for the
That's
one
right.
thing
For
that
your-
I did,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
The party.
Yep.
We ended up at the party. We had a night. We had another night. We'd do dinner. We'd hang. And then a couple of years later, in 2015, when Jess and I got married in the great state of Montana, we asked these 2 fine gentlemen if they would come and be the official wedding photographers. Again, trying to throw tradition for a loop. So it was like, who would be cooler at having at your wedding taking the snaps than these 2 guys? So they went for it, came up to Montana, and they did a couple days before, they did a portrait of Jess and I out in the garage of the house, where, again, we sort of just kind of went along with it. And so they did some very basic sort of facial, straight-on shots. And then they went into their computers and they started changing the pictures and coloring them and doing all kinds of stuff. And then like a monitor, like
Projector.
what's it like?
Projector.
That was
Projector.
me. I was
Close
at the
enough.
bar at this time.
A projector came out, and this is all analog. There's nothing crazy or nothing digital about this. So the projector came out, and all of a sudden I was projected on Jess, and Jess was projected on me, and all these pictures that we're just taking were projected on each other, blah, blah, blah. This crazy picture came out that was our wedding present from the 2 of you. I mean, the fucking sizes thing is about the size of this whole
Projector.
Canva projector back here, and is in our house. And I was like, and I said this to you guys right away in 2015. I said, that one day will make for cool Metallica pictures. I think I even introduced you. Didn't I introduce you guys to Hetfield at the wedding, specifically saying one day
but
we
also-
should do something with these guys together?
But also first, I mean, like you and I, like I remember, like because you only texted like 2 or 3 in the morning. That's when you communicate with people.
True.
So I was asleep, and it normally
Is there
goes.
a better
It normally
time than 2
it
or
normally
3 in the morning?
Oh boy.
it normally goes through Dimitri and then to me. And I remember like waking up and it's like, he wants us to do wedding photography. I'm like, no, fuck no. I'm not. We don't do wedding photography. That's not where we're. And then we got it. Dimitri got me convinced. Like let's do this. And
What time was it when you agreed?
3:30.
3:30. Okay.
No, and then we started like, what could we possibly give Lars, Ulrich from Metallica as a wedding present? And we had
Other
these,
than our presence.
other than
Our presence is the present, of
other
course,
than
always,
a
right?
from a
But yeah.
Danish person, which should be, But then, we started talking about it, like, and we had this style that we worked on and developed and like fine-tuned from one of the early days that we started working together. And it just seemed perfect for you and Jess being, somehow like married together in this one picture. And we couldn't think of like anything better to do. And it's like the most time-consuming fucking thing in the world. And we said we would never do this again. So now you got the background.
Right. And, but
No, I
I
mean,
think when
that-
I introduced you guys to Hetfield at the wedding and said, one day we should all do this because it was so, I'd never seen anything.
It was even before
like
that.
It, ever.
So we left. We had just we just finished shooting the session with you and Jess, and we were about to split. And the funny thing was, typically when you're shooting in a a studio, and we're the only ones that see the pictures. So for the first time now, the whole family was there. So they're all watching this stuff, and they're seeing these images pop up on the monitor. And all of a sudden, we start getting these applause, which we had never gotten before at a shoot.
Not even from our parents.
Not even from Jesper's parents. So at the end of the shoot, we were looking through them. I remember we were standing at the computer, and Lars was like, "This is really different. What is this? What is this called? I don't understand. Did you guys come up with this? Has this been done before?" I said, we'd come up with this a few years ago, but we thought it was really fitting for this. And he goes, "This would make a really great fucking album cover." I said, yeah, I think it would. And the next day you introduced us to James and said exactly what you said. This would be really interesting. A few years from now we should talk.
3 years later, we're sitting here talking about it.
Absolutely. No, listen. That night after the wedding portrait, we were driving the car back to the hotel, and I was like, Jesper and I were talking. I go, that was crazy. That may be a record cover at some point. That's kind of fucking insane.
Well, you're also sober, and I was not.
I don't think any of us were sober at that point.
I remember walking into the house, and you were afraid of like.
Well, we walked into the wrong house first.
That's
That's a different story. Anyway, yes. So that evening led to the cover art for the Metallica album. So I think for the next however many years we were waiting for the album to get made, and then finally the album got made, and then we got a call.
Yeah, I always said I would call you.
That's right.
And so all of a sudden, a couple of years later, the record was done. It's like, okay, let's go do this.
Mm-hmm.
What was James's reaction when you first brought up the idea?
He was actually pretty into it. I mean, obviously, a few years later, he had forgotten, and so had everybody else. So I had to start from scratch. Remember back in the day, and let me show you this picture and that picture, whatever. But everybody in the band got it, and everybody was up for the dare, and everybody was up for something different.
I wanted to ask, when you came to shoot the sleeve, when you put that style together, when you're putting those shots together, do you think of the band as 4 individual personalities, or do you think of them as one unit? And maybe bring us into the process that you went through in conceiving how you would deal with the shoot, subject versus band.
I mean, I think it's both, and it's not dissimilar to the way that we look at ourselves and also the people that we work with. We, I think, are very lucky in the same way that the band is very lucky to be working with really talented people that take care of us, that are supportive of us, and that we feel are part of our work. They may not be clicking the pictures, but they're a huge part of what we do. So when we were looking kind of at the band, we were looking, I think, in analyzing each band member and then looking at them as a whole in the same kind of way. And it was important to us to express everyone's individuality and obviously bring them together as 4 guys making music together, which is one kind of singular thing that goes out to everyone. So we wanted to express every kind of energy that everyone was bringing to the shoot, and we encouraged each member of the band to, kind of be somber, be angry, be happy, be goofy, everything that any person has within themselves. We're all, I think, complicated people. We all have different versions of ourselves. And it's good to express that, and it's good to show that to everyone. So I think we were trying to be encouraging of the band to show different sides of themselves that we also knew could then be combined with each other to make this whole other kind of Frankenstein, version. That was
you
our
each-
approach.
Bring us into the process of how you each saw the band. And I know that sometimes, I mean, I don't think this is probably any secret, but you know, sometimes a creative partnership throws up disputes. I'm interested to hear.
These two guys know. They seem to agree on everything.
I'm particularly interested in you know, how the discussions went planning that specific session. That's a huge session. You would each have the different take on the
Now
band.
you'll get two different answers.
Yeah.
No, well, in that instance, because we've done it before, and it was one of our first collaborations together. We did this projection thing, and so in that instance, we didn't have any arguments at all. Like, this was the only route we could take. But many others, we have different opinions. And it goes down a path, you know, we both come up with ideas, and we'll end up in some sort of harmony at the end. And they can be heated, they can be not heated, you know?
I think the thing that always keeps us connected to each other is we both have a shared vision of the end product.
Yeah.
So that's something that, you know, we argue constantly about everything. You know, it's true. But we appreciate that about each other. That's why we're a duo. If we were one person doing the same thing that we were comfortable with, we wouldn't have to be working together.
May I ask, so when you guys radically disagree on things, is the one that's the most passionate the one that
No.
moves forward?
No.
Is it, what wins?
Kirsten is the third herring, our assistant, so she actually gets a vote.
Yeah, I mean, we try to make it pretty democratic, but at the same time, I would say, I think both of us are respectful of each other's opinions and visions and try to hear each other out. There's also, you know, I think we have different personalities. I think, you know, my personality, let's go fucking balls out on a thing, let's go crazy, let's forget about any boundaries, who cares, like, let's fucking go nuts.
I'll pull him back.
And Jesper goes, let's come back to reality, what's actually feasible, what can we do, what makes sense to this, that kind of thing. So, you know, in that way, it's fantastic because we get these two, you know, two brains are better than one, we say it all the time. And so we get this other, which is herring and herring. You know, it's not Dimitri, it's not Jesper, it's this herring and herring thing.
But are you able to leave if, let's say, that the two of you have radically different visions of something, and now your way is the one that's going to happen? Do you then move along with sort of resentments, or are you able to shed them and move along as an equal creative partner? How does that work?
I don't feel like it's ever, you know, only Dimitri's decision or only mine. It's a combination. You know, like we'll work it out.
We tend to let go of those things because there's so many. I mean, that's the other thing about us is like we kind of dive into. We're never working on one thing for a prolonged period. We're working on like 3 or 4 projects at once. So there's a give and take, and we're comfortable with that. So if Jesper wins out on a thing that he's really into, then I hope that he gives me some leverage next time on another project and vice versa. So we try to find a middle ground. But listen, sometimes there's stuff that like there's a thing that Jesper wants to do every time that we do a magazine. This is...
Have the text in Danish?
What's that?
Have the text in Danish?
No. He wants to put things in front of people's faces to obstruct their faces. And I'm like, you know, we mostly shoot celebrities. If you block their face, it's a worthless picture. I get it. It's creative and artistic, but you don't see them.
I also love midgets. We never had midgets.
Jesper also likes, I won't say the word, but yeah.
No.
So, you know, so what do? So you have to say, hey man, that doesn't make any sense in this context. We got to get out of it.
Here's a picture of Beyonce with something in front of her. It's
I would
really
have loved
Beyonce
to do
back there.
Dude, I would have loved
You know
to
what,
have done
actually-
that. And it would have been so much better.
You know what? We should do a quick rewind. When we got the call, and this was very random, but we started working with an agent who was representing Beyonce's creative director at the time. And he sent her an email and he said, we're looking for new photographers to work on an album. Send over anyone you think is appropriate. She sent over a portfolio, and literally, like 10 minutes later, we get a call. She wants to see you in her office right now. Ooh, Beyonce wants to talk to us. Fantastic. Jesper goes, who? No, Beyonce, dude, Beyonce, you know Beyonce. He goes, wait, from TLC? What are you talking about? He goes, hey, the girl with the condom on her face. No, that's Left Eye. So.
And she's dead.
And she's dead. Yeah. So, it gives you another. it gives you another view of this partnership. Yeah, Jesper was not impressed by Beyonce at all.
I was not. I knew who Lars was.
He did know Lars and was impressed by Lars.
Yeah, I was very.
But not Beyonce.
Still to this day.
Thank you for not putting anything in front of me.
Well, actually, in fairness, the entire band ended up in front of your face.
No, I mean, the reason I ask is because obviously, being in a collective myself, there's obviously many different ways to look at things. And what we've worked out over the years is that we tend to gravitate toward who's the most passionate. So if you got somebody pulls in this direction and somebody pulls in that direction, who's the most passionate about the direction that they're pulling?
We tried that.
We've sort of kind of, over the years, we put a lot more emphasis on that than winning the argument or right or wrong or yes or no or, this guy versus that guy. It's like we tried to get to the bottom of the passion. I really fucking see this. I feel it. I know where this should go. Fine, then you run with it, and we'll circle back to the next thing where we disagree or whatever. But the passion in the moment and the vision, the amount of that often is what will lead the way rather than right or wrong or, okay, but, you take this one and then next Tuesday's argument, I'm going to run with, instead of that kind of thing.
For us, it's like, these days it's like, who can come up with the best storyboard? Who can sell the story the best? And not to the client or, to friends and family, but to each other. And that takes a lot of effort. You got to find all these reference pictures, go through your, your mind and everything, like, what is it you're trying to do? And if you can sell it.
Yeah, I mean, I think the other thing is, depending on what we're doing, when we do the magazine, that's just us. When we work with clients, that's a different thing.
Yeah.
In a way, it's almost easier when we work with clients because we can present all of those ideas, and then they choose. So then, client chooses what we want to do, and that helps us. It actually eases up the tension of making that choice. It's different from Metallica. You guys are always working on your own stuff. You don't have to write jingles for Burger King.
What happens when you come across a client that picks an idea that you don't want to execute for that client? How do you...
we don't present it. No. It will be, let's say Jesper has his ideas, I have my ideas, we present it to the client. Client says we want to go with idea B, whether that's his or mine. We execute it. We're both comfortable with it. And the thing is, listen, again, in this partnership, and I'm sure everyone working with a partner has said it, it's akin to a marriage, And the thing is, you have to have love and respect for your partner. If they are really passionate about something, you have to let them have their way. And they, in turn, if they love and respect you, have to give you that same respect. And so really, that's how we try to approach stuff. And so if the client chooses to do it, great, let's do that. We're all about the idea, I think that's the thing that really unites us, that final vision and idea, and we love and respect each other enough to give each other that opportunity.
You graduated from this fine establishment in 2005 with a sculpture and design degree.
Thank you very much.
Jesper, you graduated but from the University of Denmark with
University of Denmark, yes.
With an engineer with a computer and engineering degree. They're both very, to my mind, different disciplines. I think it's really interesting if you could get into how those two disciplines work together as a photography duo, and maybe explain to us how you work, what each of you brings to the party, so to speak.
Absolutely. I mean, go ahead, no, please.
No,
Ladies first.
Let's argue about who goes first.
Age before beauty.
I do have red shoes on. No, I mean, I'm the practical person. So I like to have a plan about everything. I like the execution, where Dimitri can be like, running around crazy on stage. I like to calm him down and like make this something that we can actually deliver to our client. That's me, and that may be a Danish thing. I don't know.
Danish people like to plan.
Yeah, we do.
Right,
We do.
Jess?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think maybe I'm trying to think of how to get this answer to be really. There's something really, really exceptional about going to this school, about being maybe in art school in general. It teaches you, or at least Cooper Union taught me how to think and how to express myself, and how to fight for what I think is right and what I think is the best thing to do. That doesn't always wind up being the thing that is the best for everybody else. And that's okay. Most times, the thing that gets, kind of put up on the billboard is not the most creative execution of an idea. And when you get into, when you're in art school, you think that the best idea wins out, and it doesn't all the time. So you have to prepare yourself to know that sometimes you think it's the best thing in the world, but it may not be to the larger audience, or whatever that medium or timeline, whatever that is, it might not be the execution that you think is the best thing. There's a thing that goes on, I think, between the two of us about that. Sometimes it's frustrating, and sometimes it's just reality.
Right.
And I think in the two of us, and it's hard to define because also these things change all the time, I think we both play the role of the practical person in it. And again, that changes. Because it really depends on the definition of what practical is and what's going to get the job done. So, I don't know.
How did that work in terms of the album shoot? I mean, did you have to rein him in at any point? Was he going way out there and you're like, come on, buddy,
So
come back
we've
in?
done that before, so I knew exactly how we we're going to execute it. Obviously, I asked, we can't do it in Lars's garage anymore. It's a nice spot, but we can't do it there. We got to have certain things. I remember, it was where was it? It was beginning of the year, whatever. It was so hot that our cameras even broke down.
Sure. Yeah, it was either August or July, and our cameras were
and,
literally melting.
The most expensive cameras in the world, and note to myself, I'm never going to do that again. But I'll be the one remembering that stuff.
So and that's the thing also, Jesper is incredible. So, part of the history that you talked about in terms of creative art background and, engineering and computer background, Jesper's incredibly,
That's nice. That's so nice.
Yeah.
Filling your own word there. Yeah.
No, Jesper's
That's
really,
incredible.
really
That's
good.
just end the sentence there.
Jesper's incredible. Thank you. Good night. No, but Jesper's really good at figuring out the technical execution of all of these things. So, when we were shooting the music videos, we knew, okay, we're going to do some music videos. That's a new thing. We don't really know what we're doing there. And so Jesper did a bunch of research and found all these cameras and techniques and all that to make it happen. That's not something that I'm interested in at all. I'm interested in the final product and how do we get there. So the beauty of being in a duo and collaborating is Jesper says, okay, we know we're going to have to do this thing. I will figure out technically how to get that done. That's fantastic for me because, again, I'm not a technical person. When we're shooting, I barely know which button to press to actually execute the shot, and so it's...
I have to lock the camera every time.
Yeah, absolutely. If Jesper doesn't lock the camera, it is out of focus, out of focus, out of focus, for an hour. So that's fantastic. Yeah. So that's fantastic for me because, and Lars may have experienced
Does this
this, I
fall
don't
under
know.
TMI?
This is good.
No, but but that's the thing. It's great. So like Jesper's super technical, and I go off on the more creative side, and we come up to a middle that is whatever the fuck herring and herring is. I don't know.
Apparently it works. There's 900 people
Yeah.
here.
Yeah. Exactly. So yeah.
Don't go, please.
Come back.
Please don't go.
That's actually my family.
Okay.
Oh, that's your family. Michael, come. No.
Please don't go. It makes
No.
us feel bad.
Yeah. They were all naked pictures. Come on.
We're in the technical part of the discussion, I can hear. When you were thinking about having them do videos, I know you like to get involved in creative process, but with these guys, were you just like, nope, I'm going to let them run with it. Here you go, present us.
There's a couple of elements to that. One thing that we decided on this project that was different from any project we'd done before was we wanted to, there was 12 songs, so we figured in the YouTube era, having a video for each song would be a cool thing to do, a smart thing to do, a fun thing to do. And so before anybody else makes their own videos, let's make our own videos. And so obviously, contrary to 20 years ago where it was like one video, big budget and all that shit with singles and all that crap, now it's just every song, let's visualize every song or let somebody visualize every song. So because of the sheer amount of that, there's two ways you can go in these things. You either have a relationship with a director, a creative bunch of people, or you love the material they come up with. So in this situation, it was basically, let's hook up with people that we trust, that we know, that will be able to work sort of on their own, because overseeing 12 different people or 12 different videos, that's a lot for anybody to have to do. So we just decided, let's do 12 videos. I think you guys ended up doing 2, 3,
4? Well, we did 4, but one didn't
so
make it.
Now That We're Dead, Halo, and the song 11, no, 10, what is it?
I'm horrible with names.
The
Audience,
Jekyll and Hyde song. What is that song called? That's
it.
right.
That's
Thank
right.
you.
We did
Puerto
one
Rico.
more.
Yes,
That's right. Yeah. In Puerto Rico. Yep.
So it's a lot more,
Yes.
in those situations, it's a lot more about the relationships. So when you have a relationship with somebody, the main thing to me in any creative relationship is trust. And when that trust had obviously been established years before, it was like, run with it. And I think the part about never having done a video before, I think that may have been left out when we had the conversation. I seem to remember that part.
No.
But it all worked out very well, and the idea of, like I said, turning it over to somebody that you believe in, rather than having, back 20 years ago, it was like, okay, now there's a treatment, and then you got to go through the agent, and then you got to tweak this paragraph, and hang on a second, and let's change this, and then budget conversations, and all this bullshit, and in this relationship, there was none of that. It was like, you're gonna do Now That We're Dead, cool. Tell us where to be, when to be there, and we're in your capable hands, right? I mean, that was pretty much the extent of it.
And explain the difference between a photo shoot of the nature of the album shoot and a video shoot. I mean, bring us through how that works creatively, or worked creatively for each of you.
Well, there's a lot more pressure in a video shoot in a way. Again, for us, we had done videos before for, our start in general was fashion. So we had done fashion for 5 years. So we did fashion photography and videos, whatever. And we really hadn't had that much experience in shooting musicians and actors and whatever, celebrities. So when we came time to the music video, it was really different for us. There was a lot more pressure than we kind of felt in the pictures. So we hunkered down and
wait a minute. He hunkered down.
He hunkered
Did all
down.
the research.
I was out eating a slice of pizza.
What does that look like? I
Yeah.
mean, are you talking about you hunkered down and saw what equipment is used to make a
Yeah,
video? I mean,
yeah.
what does that mean?
But that's a huge thing.
Everything.
That's a huge thing. I mean, here's the thing.
tell us.
You know, we know. Okay, we're shooting Hasselblad. You know, we know how that works. We know how our Broncolor lights work. We know all that. Here we're in motion. What the fuck is motion? You know, we don't know. We don't know editing. We don't know
But also,
light.
like, we had to, like, do the entire production. So it's not only, like, doing the video shoot. Like, we had to, like, get all we have to do all the casting. Like, one of the shoots was, like, what, like 150 people?
Well, that was later. I mean, that was later. I mean, just
But,
in
yes.
general, you're working with equipment that you're not used to. You're hiring people, you know, we're used to filming, you know, whatever, shooting the stuff ourselves. Now we have DPs that are shooting all the stuff
was the
for
first
us.
one, yeah.
So we're just directing,
Bad decision.
you know?
Yeah.
Well, no, it wasn't a bad decision, but it was just different. It was a different, Jesper may think it's bad. I think it's great. If I don't have to fucking click on it, it's great. Anyway, you know, it's a different way of working, you know? You
we
just don't
outsource
know.
it,
Yeah, so we had to research, how do you actually do that? How do you get this idea? We had a very solid idea of what we were going to be doing. How do we make it done? How do we technically do it?
It's different lenses, it's different equipment. It's like,
Yeah, and it's other people doing it for us. So anyway, we had to adjust
I think
to that.
for us, that's also what was so appealing about it, and we ended up in a relationship with these people that we loved and trusted, but also who had a completely different approach. And I think, you know, especially, you know, in the music world or business, if we use that word, there's so much jaded bullshit of just people doing the same fucking thing over and over again, the same approaches. It's like, okay, now you do a record, now you gotta do a video, and then the video is this, and it's you do it this fucking way and that, you know, and it's like, I know James and I always sit there and go like, let's find somebody who's gonna reinvent the wheel, who's got a different approach, who's not weighed down by the way it's supposed to be. There's this thing about, you know, well, play it safe, do it with these people. They know what they're doing. They'll bring the budget in on time and all this horse shit. And you just want to break out of that and just, here, fucking run with it. You know, do something different. Turn it upside down. Whatever the fuck. But there's, inside Metallica, we often feel very stuck in that whole thing. And anytime we get a chance to really break the change of that, is always fun for us. So when this relationship became not just a relationship between Lars and two friends, but became a working relationship between Metallica and Herring, it was so exciting. And let's also not forget that not only did you guys shoot the album cover, but we also did multiple photo sessions. I mean, it was a full-on thing for a couple of, 3-6 months. I mean, we were fucking chained to each other.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it was the best. Listen, we have a lot of fond memories of working on that thing, and there's two, for me at least, there's two memories that are absolutely the fondest. The album thing was, we already knew what we were going to be doing. It was exciting. We didn't know whatever. That was great. The two greatest things were Minneapolis and the video that we did with all the fans. What's it called?
Halo.
Halo on Fire. Right. So here's the thing. The best thing ever, I mean, and for us, and we've experienced this a few times, but not at this same extent, is working with friends. Working with friends is, and probably, I mean, you know, it's the most fulfilling, fun, exciting thing you could imagine. And I remember we were shooting Halo on Fire, and Jesper was out. I don't know if you guys have seen the video, but there's whatever stuff going on. There's whatever, the band shoot.
there was stuff going on,
Set the scene.
The band is playing. Yeah, whatever. Yeah, the band is playing.
Erupting.
Jesper's on the outside filming the fans and the band, and I'm standing on the inside filming the band. And I'm looking out at each and every one of the members, and then especially Lars, and we're all just having fun. And that's fucking fantastic. That's the best feeling creatively. You feel completely charged up. You feel complete in a creative sense. That was fantastic. That was number one, and number two was Minneapolis. So Minneapolis was when Metallica first showed the album kind of images, the projection
stage, yeah.
photographs on stage.
Yeah, there was the day, what was the day after Hardwire, the first song came out on radio,
Yep.
was kind of just showed up and nobody really knew anything. It was kind of our first attempt at a guerrilla type of just dump the song, no big announcement or whatever, which was super cool.
was
and then we
super cool.
played it that night. I think
So,
it's the first
yeah,
encore.
so the day that the album was released, we were shooting a book cover for Kelly Osbourne's book. And the
That's
video
right.
came out and the single came out, and she goes, "I'm so fucking happy for you guys. This is incredible. This is really fucking cool." And the next night we flew out
I forgot
to the
about
show. Yeah. The next night we flew out to the show, and we were getting ready, and we went to the store where they were selling all the Metallica merchandise, and we had
Met
these
store,
these photos were out there printed on the windows, and we were like, "Oh, this is cool." We were the most famous people in Minneapolis
For about 2
for
hours.
about 2 hours. And then we went to the show, and the big fucking projections come on to the show, and we were just like, we were so excited and so touched, and it was a really, really special moment. And we felt like that was the most special moment we were probably going to have until we got to the dinner afterwards.
Right.
We were introduced to the whole everyone, and then the after party, and then we wound up at Lars and Jess's hotel room. And then Jesper and Jess, Lars's wife, were listening to
Radiohead. as
Radiohead. And Lars and I were sitting there listening to the album because I was begging him to play me more songs. And this is, for me, it was the best moment because we were listening to all the songs from the album, and Lars was sitting air drumming in his underwear.
That is not true.
It's absolutely true.
Fucking way would I sit in my well, I have underwear on now, but you're sure there wasn't anything on top of the underwear?
There was nothing on top of the underwear.
Wow.
But anyway,
Okay.
and I'm sitting there and I'm thinking,
Did you take a photograph?
I've been
No.
scarred for life ever since.
we don't take a picture unless someone's paying us for it. You know, we don't do that.
Could you kindly have told us? Pumba would have paid you for that picture.
No, we don't do that. But it was, and I remember very, very, very fondly thinking, I'm sitting here, I'm listening to the new Metallica record that no one's heard. Holy shit, this is incredible. And Lars, the dude that's on the drums, which I often forget that Lars is the drummer for Metallica, because I'm like, it's Lars, my buddy. He's playing air drum to the record. It can't get any cooler than this. And the sun is coming up, and we're in a weird fucking state.
Except if you're listening to Radiohead.
Well, except if you're maybe for you, yeah, I don't know. But
It's the greatest thrill in the world when you're a musician. That time when you have finished the record until anybody else hears it, and like there's only like 5 people that have it, and you have one of the 5 copies in your back pocket.
Yeah.
And at like 5 o'clock in the morning, after way too many beverages,
Yep.
you can pull it out.
That's it.
And then you can sit and air drum or air guitar or air sing along to people that are trying to like listen to your music and just keep getting around. Hey, check this part out. Hey, check this drum fill. Hey, listen to this solo. Stop. Wait, listen to this lyric.
Was
It's
that him?
fucking awesome. No, any musician that you ever meet can tell you, if they're truthful with you, will tell you that they do that to unsuspecting people that get sucked into that web. Hey, check the, hang on. Shh, don't, listen. Hear that? Okay, shh. And then when it's so annoying when they go, that's really cool, and you go, don't say anything, just listen. Fucking listen! So, and I did that a few times that night. I remember
did.
our buddy Michael Cooper. I cornered him in the bar downstairs. I'm not quite sure about the underwear part.
Here's the thing.
This is troubling here. It's really troubling you.
Jess, underwear or no?
Underwear First off, the whole fucking night, Lars is playing this record for every motherfucker that's there,
That wasn't
except
just
for
you,
me,
bro.
okay? I'm like, dude, we just shot the cover. Let me listen to what this record is. He's like, not yet. You know.
I have too much clothes on. Later.
Exactly. Yeah.
The sun has not risen.
But listen, that's fine. The funny thing was, so we're listening to the record, and I'm freaking out, and Jesper's having a great time with just listening to Radiohead, whatever. That's fine too.
I always do that.
And we miss our
They were
flight.
competing.
Yeah. And we miss our flight, and we wind up falling asleep at the airport.
Well, you fell asleep at the counter.
I fell asleep at the counter
Yeah,
standing up.
there's a great fucking picture from that. But
Yeah.
we didn't bring it.
It's not up there.
No, you
Anyway.
didn't bring it.
Do you have any other
I
questions,
do have a
Stefan?
few other things that we should get into. The differences between bringing it. I mean, I could love to talk more about this underwear and air drumming stuff, but let's get back to the difference between shooting live, this band live. Let's talk about the differences between shooting this band live, and I mean, obviously, when they're live and playing instruments, and when they're not, they're not. But technically and creatively, how do you approach that situation?
We're not live shooters, you know? I mean, that's not what we do. We plan out our shoots. We know what we're going to do before we get into it, and that's how we...
We don't do live.
Yeah, we don't do weddings and we don't do live unless it comes to Metallica.
Yeah.
So, you know, the first time probably we went out to shoot live was in Minneapolis. And it was a very different experience because you've got people walking around and rocking around.
But also like the
When you don't
environment-
expect,
the
yeah, I mean,
environment
it's
changes all the
it's
fucking
totally
time,
different.
so-
It was a challenge. It was
Yeah. We tend not to do like location shoots at all. Like we just want to be in studio because it's a controlled environment. I can do anything I fucking want in there. But like a live performance, no.
Yeah, so it's different. The thing is that it changes. It changes all the time. So you really have to.
Except
It's a different muscle.
They did shoot us live.
Yeah, no, but it's a different. Here's that. Yeah, there you go. See how bad that is? See how much movement there is?
Which is
in that?
fucking
No.
cool. Look at that.
Yeah.
See?
No,
That is a
fucking
picture
cool.
taken by somebody who's never shot somebody live before. And see how fucking awesome that is.
No, but that's the thing. I mean, listen. Sometimes.
That's a great point because
Absolutely.
we're getting to something we did talk about, which
Yep.
was to have the courage of your convictions and to challenge your fears of a situation. Talk about that, and maybe you
But
can
it's
address
also
that as
about
well.
being a perfectionist. So, you know, you can go down the route of photography and like wanting to have the crispest, the sharpest image in the world, but it will have no sensibility or feeling. Whereas if you just throw all that shit, you know, over your shoulder and just go with, you know, the flow or whatever the feeling you have, you end up with this shit. But you have to go through that process.
How do you work through the word no or that's not good? I mean, how did you guys in your creative journeys have the fortitude and courage to push through that? Because that's something that, as good as any academic institution is, they can't always give you that advice. So maybe you can offer some of that advice. How do you push through those no's and no good?
I think we have, at least speaking for Jesper and I think we
Surround
have.
yourself with people that say yes.
That's Metallica. That's not Herring and Herring. Listen, we don't expect people to say yes to us at all.
I'm surprised when they do.
We're shocked when we get any kind of compliment at all. We're really steadfast in having our vision, which is weird and not what you would expect, and that's what we live for. I mean, for us, we want to do what pleases us. That's really the only fucking thing that matters to us, what pleases us. And we're weirdos and outcasts, and we're very, very comfortable with that. We're outsiders. You know, in every aspect of photography that we've ever gotten into, we are absolute outcasts, and we love it because there's no pressure in a way. We get to do exactly what we want to do. We don't have to answer to anybody, and we don't give a flying fuck.
And that's probably why we get along so well.
Absolutely. And that's
We're outcasts and we're
absolutely. That's it.
disenfranchised and trying to figure it all out. And we also don't like to end up in situations where you feel like you owe anybody anything or whatever. So
Great. I think we should probably get to a few audience questions. So I'm going to,
Fuck their
these
audience.
fine people gave us some good questions. So I am going to read them and attempt to without my reading glasses. Austin.
your glasses are right there. if
I
you're looking
couldn't
for
find them. No, I'm going to try and challenge my eyesight. Austin.
Is that better?
No, it's not. Now I'm going to put them. There we go. Wonderful. Thank you for your help.
You and me, Steph.
I appreciate it. Austin asked, hello.
Where's Austin?
Where is Austin? Austin, wave your
He's
hand.
on the interweb.
He's the one that just left.
Did he really leave?
He was like, fuck this, they haven't gotten to my question.
Oh, we'll ask Austin's question. Still, we'll ask, hello, here's a question for both Lars and H&H. As artists, how do you continue to stay motivated and inspired?
I think for Metallica, the main thing is just continuously mixing it up. So we always have to do different things. We all acknowledge in the band that we all have very short attention spans, and we get easily sort of a little lost. And so the way that we if we know that about ourselves, then we always just do different things. So we, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, whatever, there were things in music where it was basically you made a record, you went on tour, you made a record, you went on tour. It was like this cycle that was very limited and very predictable. And with the collapse of the general music industry a decade or so ago, it felt like you could kind of break out of all that. And so we have made a couple, 2, 3 movies. We have our own festival. We like to, we have a foundation now. We're doing the first show for that foundation is an acoustic benefit thing that we're doing in a couple, 2, 3 weeks. So we're very much thinking about that. So we're always doing different things. When we tour, we try to break up the touring by, we play outdoors, we play indoors, we play big places, we play small places. We always try to, when we come to New York, we always play a different place. So we have this this fear of repetition and this fear of falling into the same cycles, and we're very conscious of that. And so we always try to break it up as much as possible and always embrace different creative challenges as much as we can.
Okay. Guys?
What was the question?
The question was how you remain inspired.
No,
Who's the practical
keeping
one and
inspired,
who's the... No.
Stay motivated and inspired.
Dimitri and I actually made, pact or whatever, an agreement when we first started working together is that it could never feel like a 9-to-5 job. It could never be anything like, we could never repeat anything. That, the only thing that we actually repeated ended up being the projections, which is Lars's cover. But yeah, so we set out to do something different every time. We have a different approach every time we meet a client. It's obviously, most of the times it's a different client each time, so it's a different approach. So it's very simple. And, we never want to be caught in a situation where we shoot like H&M, well, actually they want to shoot H&M, but it can't be like, people running through a cornfield being happy all the time. That's actually going to make me miserable and sad.
2/3 of that is fantastic, but it can't just be every time.
No, right. Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I think that the idea is we want to challenge ourselves every time that we step in back of or in front of whatever the camera. That to us is the exciting part. The unknown is the thing that really gets us off in a way.
Yeah, like the video, like, is a perfect example of that.
Sure.
Like, we've never done that before. So why not just fucking, sit down, do the fucking research, and knock it out of the park. So.
John Newsy. Oh, I hope I'm pronouncing that properly. Apologies if I
He's an
butchered that.
asshole. I know him.
I see. You don't know him. I'm sure John is a lovely man. He's from New York. I was going to say Massapequa. Is Massapequa? Have I got that right? Yeah. Okay. From Massapequa, New York. Hello, Lars, Dimitri, and Jesper. What has been learned and most valued with experiencing each other's respected craft during the collaborating process on the various projects for Hardwired to Self-Destruct? So what did you each learn from the collaboration about each other?
I mean, I think that probably the thing that we learned is that we're actually very, very similar. I think that idea of the outsider that we really feel tapped into is very much the same case with Metallica, you know? There's a lot of, there's a lot of parts where we really feel like we are something else, that we stand for something that is very much just us, that I think Metallica does as well. And it's kind of a cool thing to connect with another person, group, organization, whatever, that feel that. It's rare. It's a really fucking rare thing.
I think that if you have faith in your potential, if you have faith in your ability and faith in the outcome, then the process of getting there, the journey, I think there has to be a part of that that's being made up as you're going along, because you have to be in the moment, and that's how we do a lot of things in Metallica, and I feel these guys are similar in that. You're sort of punting it to a degree as you're going along, knowing it's going to be cool, not exactly knowing what the final thing is, but whenever we get there, and we'll have faith in the fact that we know that it's done, or know that it's cool, or know that it's rocking, or whatever, and as you're on that path, you just got to be open to wherever it's going to take you. I think that's really important.
I got the sign.
You got the sign to what?
We
Do
have-
another hour?
Since we have actually, we have come to the end of our time.
What?
Yes,
We're
we've
just
come
getting
to the end of our
started.
time. We're just getting warmed up.
We are just
so,
getting warmed up.
We were, so I'm sure that there will
Not
be...
one last, you can't just do like one last question? Or,
You know what? I think, seeing as you said, can we do one last question? I think
don't
we
you think
should.
we should at least have a
One
2-minute
last-
warning?
One last question? One last question.
Why don't we take a question from somebody out there? Shout.
Okay.
Who wants to shout? What? What? How about you? Okay. Stand up. What's your name? Jean. Hello.
Hygiene. Hygiene.
Okay. Hi, Jean.
We love hygiene.
So question about the album cover, the use of color schemes and the bright white background was certainly like a fresh take on the Metallica brand. So my question is twofold. One, how did you guys come up with that color scheme? And two, were there any others that were like sort of other strong contenders?
I would say for me, right away when I saw this image of Jess and I a couple years ago, I knew that I had never seen anything remotely close to that anywhere, first of all, and second of all, in the whole Metallica ecosystem. So the idea that this would, and like you're very rightfully so identified, would have a whole different kind of color and feel and aesthetic to it was really, really appealing to me. After the Death Magnetic and all those other things that we had done, this just was like in a whole different space. So that was a big driving factor for me.
Go ahead.
We thought it would be pink. No, I'm just kidding. No, I mean, I don't know. You want to?
No,
You don't
I
have
mean,
to.
listen, we were, here's the, I'll tell you a good story. So we're out at HQ, we're shooting the album cover, or at least what we think is the album cover.
That's right.
And the art director comes up to us, he goes, do you guys know what the album's called? We go, no. Have you heard any of the songs? No. Have you
seen
have
the
you
band?
seen no, have you seen any of the other approaches to the album cover? You go, there's other approaches to the album cover? So we say no. And we drive back, that was the first day, and we go, holy fucking shit.
Dimitri was pissed.
Yeah, I thought we were doing a thing, and we might have not been doing the thing, and whatever. We do our work at night, and we come back, and someone says, the band would like to see you. Well, the band, okay. So we go into the band, and the band goes, out of the
I
stuff.
think I was polishing a camera this time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't want to be part of this.
Out of the stuff that you just shot, do you think there's room there for it to be an album cover? We go, yeah. You know? And the art director shows us some other ideas that were being kind of battered around, and some of them were really fucking good.
Not as good.
And maybe not as good, but pretty fucking good. And we drive back.
It's a good point you're making. I
Yeah.
think to answer your question, it's sort of take over,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
When we did the first OG, all of us layered on top of each other, it hadn't at that point been decided that that was the album cover. It was just, fuck, this is really cool. We got to do, it fits into the bigger hardwired self-destruct type of thing, but it was not, there was no album cover. It wasn't, here's the album cover, now they're shooting it. It was just, we're doing a really cool photo session that I've had in the back of my mind for 3 years or whatever.
Yeah,
But
and
that
so
is true.
anyway, so we do the shoot, we drive back, we hope it's the thing, and then a few weeks later I get a phone call and Lars goes, hey, you won the lottery.
I'm waiting for that phone call today, by the way.
No?
We're at a point. Do you think one more shouted question?
One more,
would
it's
it be
fun.
rude not to?
I mean,
it's
when,
fun,
when
yeah.
they just turn the house lights on, does that mean get the fuck out? Or does that mean get the fuck out, or is
Look
that
at
just so
this
we
guy.
can see who's
Can we
standing
have one
up?
more shouted out? Is that okay?
What, that guy?
You right there?
We're good.
You right there, yeah. What's your name? Hey, look familiar, bro. Okay, I know you. Stop following me around. Good to see you. Of course.
Was the idea of the album cover projecting the band as one force? That's the question. Melting all their faces. And the other question is, why the band members' faces? Why not from someone else's faces? Was the idea of projecting somebody else in the cover, or was always the idea of projecting the band in the cover?
Those are greater, bigger questions. Like I said a couple times now, I felt that the idea of the four of our faces on top of each other melding together was 34, 35 years in, something I'd never seen, and something that with regards to Metallica, and that's something that I felt would be super cool, first of all. Second of all, as we were going through all the different album titles, as we started doing away with all the secondary versions and getting closer to what was really going to work. And I think in my mind, I always knew that Hardwired to Self-Destruct was the one that I was betting on. And when that happened, and then the idea of the four faces on top of each other felt like, in a very abstract way, that those two were a great, great marriage between visual and between words. In Metallica over the years, we tried to walk a fine line between not being too specific, not being too, explain, it's got to be this way, too obvious, that we try to leave some degree of interpretation to the listener, to whoever's, looking at the covers, the pictures, listening to the music, coming to the shows or whatever, that everything is not so fucking carved out in stone, that there has to be, to me,
music or literature or art or whatever creative form always works the best when there's a degree left to where you trust enough to who's interpreting to have their own version of it. That has to be a part of it, and I think that there's too much art these days where everything is just so forced upon you, carved out in stone. This is how you gotta look at this, and if you don't get it that way, then you don't fucking get it or whatever. And in Metallica, it's very important to us that the person who's at the receiving end can make their own version of it. And so I felt that Hardwired to Self-Destruct and the Four Faces on top of each other, it just was the perfect marriage of two arbitrary, abstract concepts that any of you guys could take and make your own.
Yeah.
Thanks. I gotta run. I gotta see the race.
I,
Now we should stop.
yeah.
I actually, so I have a very random question for Lars.
What's your name?
Can you stand up?
Jesper, Dimitri,
And where are you from? Can you stand up, please?
Dimitri, Scheblanov, Russia, USA, New York. So we were talking about this a little bit earlier, and Jess and I were talking about this a few months ago. It's a very random fucking question, but when you get up to do your thing, okay, when you're drumming, and you do your... Where did that come from? Because no other drummer does it.
I think we have to go.
No, it's an actual, it's a thing that actually I'm super fucking interested in, because here's the thing, I mean, you have your drumming, but there's such a performative
Keep talking
aspect
so
of
I
what
can
you
think
do.
of a clever
yeah,
answer.
totally, yeah. No, but it's such a performative thing what you do, and there's not dissimilar maybe to some performative things that we do in photography, but in the drumming, this is a performative thing that you do. Where did that come from? Where you're standing up and you're interacting with the
cannot
audience,
answer.
and you're,
I don't
but there
know.
has to be.
I don't know.
I think we need a
I
few
don't
drinks
know.
for that.
I mean, it comes from being in the moment, and so over the years, these things that you do in the moment, there's some of them that you, as you know, because you come to every fucking show that we do. Yeah, and thank you for doing that, by the way. And I know you don't necessarily live right in this hood, so I appreciate it even more. But there are certain things that you... That's right. Where were we? So there are certain things that you...
Master of Puppets,
There
we're
are
at
certain
Master of
things that you
Puppets.
find yourself doing along the way
Yeah.
that just becomes part of what I always do with that particular thing is I always find, I know who the people in the audience who are down riding the rail like you, who have seen many, many shows, and it's always fun to have these moments to connect to a member of the audience, to somebody who's going to, like we say, throw it back at you. And so when I do that particular thing in Master Puppets, and there's 12 people down riding the rail that all do it back at me, it's a moment of connection. And ultimately, I do believe that all human beings want to connect with other human beings in whatever capacity that you can, intimately, drum set to riding the rail or through music or through art or whatever. It's all about connection and feeling that you're part of something. And that's certainly the reason I'm in a band. And I was an only child and felt like a disenfranchised loner growing up. And I wanted to be in a band, so I belonged to something that was bigger than myself. So when you and I share that moment, then we're connected. Isn't that what we all want?
Absolutely, yeah.
I have to say, that really is the perfect moment to end our conversation, guys. We can continue this later on if we wish, but for everyone else, thank you very much indeed. Please give it up
Thank
for
you for
Dimitri,
coming out.
for
Thank you.
Jesper, and for Lars, Ulrich. Thank you very much. I would like to also say thank you again to the Juilliard cellists who are going to play a great piece of music for us that I think some of you will be familiar with. And also, you can get some copies of Herring and Herrings magazine in the lobby at a pay your own price. Thank you very much again.